Greetings, everyone. Lumberg here. Really excited to do this update on mergers, Global Conquest toolkit data that's been updated, some recent thoughts on when the next merger will happen, Camel's recent communications, and then I'm going to walk through the first Global Conquest 5 groups. So let's go ahead and get started. First, an update of the toolkit. So if you look at the toolkit here, the link is the same one that I've done before. It's been updated for the third battle, and I've added in some more useful data that you'll find. I've added in global nation VP. Remember, this is top 10 alliances, so take that as it is. It doesn't truly reflect all global nations. It's just the top 10 alliances. The next one is I've listed the participants from round 1, 2, and 3, not the preliminaries, the whole round, but the third preliminary of those first 3 rounds. This is useful information because it'll help you plan which round people are strong in. Again, this information shouldn't be over relied on because this time, because 16 out of 20 teams qualified, it's not going to be the same energy level and participation that would normally be in a semifinal or a final. So keep that in mind. Finally, I've added in strength of schedule, and that's a simple objective way to see who had the hardest path to get there. The smaller the number, the harder your schedule was. So in this group of 1 to 182, 164 had the toughest path based on the ranking, the average rank of the nations that they've faced. So they had the toughest path. This one, there is no camel bias because really the logic between all of these groups followed the same logic, except there was one manual intervention, it looked like here, between the matchup here where you can see in these pink. As a result of that manual intervention, some nations actually faced 209 twice here. So, 164 or 246 actually faced 209 twice here. So that's really the update here. I hope you find that information useful. This was, take it, with a grain of salt. Some of this information was basically just entered in by hand by me over painstakingly long hours. And if you want to support my channel, I recommend that you please just keep YouTube on autoplay or YouTube on repeat. Take a video of mine and put it on loop, or go to one of my playlists and just keep that on loop. And that way I get some of the support and get motivated to put all of this data in. I do apologize. I did not get a chance because I don't have spy accounts and just ran out of time for these last couple of worlds here. So the information here does not include nation, BP, or participants because that requires a spy account for each. I did list the semifinal ranking group, and let's talk about that next. So for your summary here, for all of these worlds for 1 through 630, I have all of the nation BP and the participants per round. For 632 through 737, I don't, but I have the semifinal matching. A special thanks to the semifinal matching algorithm or logic. It was actually Roger who told me this. I was trying to figure out using a more complicated path of how to determine, who you rank with, and there's a much simpler answer. At the end of Global Conquest, when the third preliminary finished, everybody got a system message. If you've deleted this, no worries. I have this recorded for all of the worlds. But for example, in our world 285, basically it's by 4. So 255, 69, 74, and 92 will be one group. The next one is 285, 78, 51, and 99 will be another group. 73, 63, 98, and 300 will be the third one. And then the fourth one is 86, 61, 70, and 293. That's it. This is the logic. It is not consistent between globes. So there might be some element of bias introduced here by Camel. And I basically just taken that matchup and reflected it here in the spreadsheet. So in this color column here by semifinals, if you want to sort it and you want to just look at, okay, if you're in group 1 here, if I'm world 30, who am I matched with? I'm with 99, 132, and 171, and so on and so forth. So you can basically just select your group and figure out where you are. And that's basically it for an update of the spreadsheet. Next, we're going to talk about just merger status and where we are, where we think, where we are, and when will the next mergers be. So if you look at it here, this is my prediction of worlds that will get a second merger and worlds that are likely up for a first merger. 473 onward, Just it's very simple. Just looking at global conquest, you can see it clearly, and I'll show you why. And then 130 got skipped over last time, and I'm guessing they'll resume. But before we really go into that, there's something interesting that I found here. So if you look at the in-game announcements in Camel's official Discord, the last time we had a merger update was in September 28th was the announcement for a merger date of October 28th, back when Princess of Doom was in charge of this. So then we really have not gotten a merger since. So it's been a while. We were on pace with getting a merger a month since about for 20 months here, and you can see it here in this list. This list here is basically just listing all of the mergers that happened, all of the merger dates that happened, and you can see that we've got a steady flow. Sometimes we got 2 in December, a steady list of when mergers happen, and then we have a break here. So when will this be resumed? We did get a break here between January and April, and so maybe it'll resume in January, maybe it'll resume in February, maybe in March. That's impossible for me to know. I don't have any information on that topic, but it is interesting to know that we just have a random break. There is some implications of this break. So what you can see here, even in this, when we had this break, there wasn't a pickup in the pace and more frequent mergers since then. You could argue that, okay, maybe in July there was maybe a pickup, but really what that means is that this really just delays the overall time of when you'll get a merger. Why I say that is very simple. A merger, the servers go down, it really needs a bandwidth of people. So what I think Camel has is a bandwidth problem, or a quality of people problem, or they're developing a new game. It's impossible to know for sure, but it definitely is not having the people to dedicate the time to this. So that being said, this does delay if you were waiting for a merger, it delays it even further down the road of where you are. Very simply put, if you look at it here, you can kind of gauge that information just by looking at these spreadsheets here, right? So if you look at the Global Conquest here, you can see that all of these worlds got a merger, and then the unmerged starts at 473. So really, if you're at 473, pretty high chance that when they do resume mergers, you will be one of the ones of this globe that get mergers. They did 10 mergers of unlocked nations last time. And so it's safe to say that if you're in these first two lists here, you will likely get a merger. It's a little bit harder to predict what they do on the older worlds. So if you look at the older worlds, 209 and 219, we're lucky to get these mergers here in October, and then you can see clearly that even if you look in this group here, one of the ones that is the oldest world that never got a second merger is actually 130. The last time they got merged was December 25, 2020. So they're the ones that waited the longest. Interestingly, some, more recent worlds got a merger before 130. It is an interesting situation. I don't really know the logic behind it, but all of these you can see, from this list here that 130, 132, and these onwards may or may not get a merger. It's hard to know how Camel thinks. So that's it for my quick, if you're in a world that's, well above 500 or mid 500 above, very unlikely that the first time that they come back to mergers, you'll get it. Then on a monthly pace, eventually when they get to your spot, you'll get your first merger. So if your world, if you stop spending, it's really unlikely that you'll get a merger. What about locked nations? Locked nations, even locked nations, interesting, and this is why I think it's a employee or bandwidth issue. Even locked nations didn't get any mergers based on, I couldn't find any holds in the world listing when I did this Global Conquest update. So there haven't been hidden mergers. First, I thought they were just being nicer or they were being more accountable. I think it's just a bandwidth issue. All right, so finally, let's talk about communication chain. So if you look at this communication, this in-game announcement thread would be where they would also announce a void. And, since Princess of Doom stepped down or delegated to this Robin 233 person, they did put the October 31st void, but there was no void announcement for November. There's been no void announcement for December. So what you can see here, this was good information because it gave you an information of who's matched with who and keeps a record. That lack of information is sad to see, and it may be again the quality of people issue here. I've sent several messages to this person just asking about just game questions. What about Giant Cannon? Never got a response. So quality of people has definitely gone down. Simple etiquette of responding to people is down. If your job is social media and responding to people, you should kind of do the bare minimum of doing that. So I think it's an overall lack of kind of quality people and dedicated resources to this game and updates for its client base or consumers. Finally, we're going to talk about my walkthrough of the first 5 groups of global conquest and prediction. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So in globe or group 1 through 182, it's a tough matchup with really old worlds and some of these newer worlds. Now, some of them did get merged, so it'll be more competitive. But if we look at it and look at, basically group number 1, which has world 30 in it, it is going to be probably 30 that wins through in group 1. If I want to sort it and show it to you here. One will win this easily. It's just, 30 is extremely strong. If we look at group 2, this one will be the toughest group, and it's anyone's guess between World 2, 33, and 146. This will be a tough matchup. 146 recently did get merged in September and is pretty strong and could win it, so this is one to watch. This one's hard to predict. Then let's look at group 3. In group 3, this one is, 52 did get a merger in April. And even though they're lean, this is probably 53s to lose, so they will likely win this. 52 is just a strong world. And then finally, group 4. This one's a tough one. 113 and 114 are pretty strong after their merger. However, I think it's probably one will win this one. If we move over to the next group, World 183 to 249, and we look at group 1. In this group, it is probably 219. So what's interesting about this is that 219, after they got the merger, they're the only ones here that got a second merger along with 209. So one of 2 groups that got a second merger. This will likely be a 219 domination because they really dominated in their preliminary matches. They are the only nation that maxed out of all of the nations. The only one that maxed out at 405 points. So they won 45. They maxed out their points. So this will be a domination by 219. No offense to the other worlds. 242 will do good, but they just can't match up with the after the merger, the second merger of this nation. So 219 will win in this group. If I put it to group 2, in group 2, whoops. Made it too big. Bear with me. It's hard to select this on your phone, the little sort drop-down menu. Might have to edit this out. There we go. In group 2, again, 209 is the second group that was merged, so it's going to be tough to compete. They will also win this group. If we go to group 3, this one's a little harder to predict. 208, this is a competitive group. 208 will likely win this, but 249 may very well challenge this. Remember, global conquest is something that, unless the odds are heavily stacked outside of your favor, you could use items and coordination to win even matches that you wouldn't expect. So anyone can surprise you. Group 4, it's a tough match, but it's likely going to be between 221 and 246. Anyone can win it. 246 doesn't have as high points because they're one of the ones that had the misfortune of facing 209 twice in the preliminaries due to that matching algorithm shift. So this one, I think it's going to be a close one. My prediction is that 221 will pull it away. Let's look at the next group here. This is, of course, my group. I am biased because it's my nation. If we look at group 1, 255 just has a lot of monsters, so they're likely going to be able to overpower. 269 could steal it. 274 is also tough, so this one's going to be, it's not exactly the easiest matchup for the first top ranked seed. So that's why it's interesting how Camel does these matchups. It's not consistent. So this one, 255, will likely take it, but they could be challenged by 269. If we look at the next group, group 2, this one is likely the hardest group. 273 or 263 can win it. I think a slight edge to 273, so they'll probably win it. But this one is a bad draw for. If you just look at the toughness of the group, this one is going to be. Just look at the ranking, right? The second ranked team, sixth ranked team, 10th ranked team, and 16. So it's not exactly the most favorable matching. Now I'm stuck again. We'll select the third group. The third group is with 286, the previous reigning champions in this group, and they will take it away. 293 will challenge them, but 263 is just too good, so they'll win this. This one I'm predicting 285 will squeak by. We did get some favorable matching, because if you look at the matching, the 4th seed, the 8th seed, the 12th seed got it. It's almost like we got the best matching, and then 13th seed. So favorable matching. Looks like Camel did us a favor, probably unwittingly. But we definitely have the most favorable matching there in that group. Finally, we're going to look at 2 more worlds. We're going to look at this group here of 309 to 369. And in this group, in group 1, 320 has been dominating, so I think they will take this away. 320 has been pretty impressive, and so they will be the tough ones to beat. In group 2, this one will be interesting. This is 333 has already defeated 316 and 354, but they probably should expect more resistance for the same reason that I mentioned before. The preliminaries was not that important. You could lose and still qualify. So this one is 333s to lose, but they should expect, just because they beat 316 before, they should plan that they will be facing more resistance. Here in group 3, this is a tough group. It's a toss-up between 356 and 343. And then finally in group 4, this is also a hard one. 323 will probably squeeze by in a close one against 309. And the reason that 323 will win this is because, just if you look at the BP differential here, it's pretty high between 323 and 309. So they're pretty close. They're pretty strong, both of them. But I think 323 will pull this off. And then the last group that I analyzed is 372 through 378. If you look at it here in group 1, in group 1 has 373 RAM. So the RAM effect, I don't really need to say more. They will pull this through. Can't really see the world, so let me fix that if I can. Yep, there we go. So RAM will win this away. Bad luck for 429. They did a great job of making it to rank 9th. Again, they just have bad luck of being teamed with 373. In group 2, this is going to be 379 is very strong. They were undefeated in the preliminaries. 372 is here. That's our Void opponent, and Shark from fellow YouTubers on there. But 379 will pull this through. In group 3, this is a tough group. It's going to be between 425 and 426, and probably 425 will have a close win just because of a slight edge in participants. Now remember, that edge in participants will be negated by the maximum of 250 per round. Also in this group is 385, a world where another YouTuber is Barry. So good luck to Barry, but this is just a tough group and a tough matchup. And then finally, we're going to look at group 4. This one's going to be between 405 and 406, and it's another tough group. 406, did have to fight 373 and 379 to make it. That would explain why their points are a little bit lower here. But, this is going to be a toss-up between 405 and 406. Anyone can win it. That's it. I don't have enough knowledge on all the other groups to do an analysis. I apologize if your world wasn't in one of those groups that I did an analysis of, but the data is here and you can kind of reach your own conclusions. Locked versus unlocked nations, and the nation BP, as well as the participants. So hopefully this information will be helpful to you guys, as well as the semifinals. Again, remember, you can just see it from that in-game message. I've reflected all of that information here. You could open up the spreadsheet, and then if you want to save it, you can just go into share and export here, and then make a copy for yourself, save it as Excel, do whatever you want. If you can't do any of these and you want a picture of any of these things, just send me a message and I'll be happy to send you a picture. That is it, guys. Hopefully this is helpful information. I spend a lot of time, but enjoy doing this because many people have found it helpful. Send me a link, send me a message, and good luck to everyone. I just wanted to wish you happy holidays. Hope you had a great Christmas and you're getting ready for a great new year. Take care. Have fun.